My journey looked very different at various points. And I mean, very different. What it took to be successful at one stage would absolutely derail necessities at other stages. Each phase required strategy pivots, different action steps, and planned reinvention. People often ask me what I would change if I could go back. Truth be told, I wouldn't change much. If anything, you don't realize what you learn when you learn it. You must realize some of those things are only learned through struggle. Heck, you must learn how to struggle and triumph over it. But this podcast hopes to get you there faster. So I want to walk you through each major stage of my own journey. I want you to hear, to feel my struggle at each of these stages. I want you to know the pros, the cons, and the methods of escape for each of these phases. That will ultimately get you there faster, smarter, with more efficiency. So welcome to what I call the phase series. I'm going to categorize each major phase of my mobile home park journey, detailing those pros, cons, and means of escape, as well as provide a definition for each stage. As you can probably guess, we can't clearly define most phases as they'll look very different for everyone. Plus, the further we progress through these stages, the fuzzier the boundaries and definitions will become. But we'll capture the gist of each phase so you yourself can diagnose and plan for each. This should help you avoid making mistakes. Believe it or not, growing for growth's sake can devastate. Ironically, you need a clear stopping point in order to craft a good starting point. You need to be able to just define what success looks like to you. So, most importantly, you can start by choosing which phase makes the most sense for you and for your family to live in. Now, let's begin with phase 1. 0 to mobile home park owner.
Mobile home parks need good would-be entrepreneurs to get off the sidelines and into the game. My name is Ryan Neris. I started with nothing. No money, no network, and no experience. Over my first decade in the business, I've acquired over 80 mobile home parks spanning 4,500 lots and counting. No matter what level you're at, I can help you get started, scale, and get your business to the next level.
I'm Mike Panzolini. In my 10 years working in private equity, I've managed over 250 mobile home parks. I've spent my entire career in real estate, both personally and professionally, building complex systems and processes and leveraging data and technology to create automations in both acquisitions and operations. I can teach you the methods that the big shops use to professionalize your business.
Together, we will equip you with all the tools, wisdom, and skills that I needed to create and scale a larger business from humble beginnings.
And I'll give you that big private equity shop edge to push your business to the next level, bringing institutional tools to the individual investor. We are the 30-day mobile home park.
Imagine a popular climbable mountain. At the top, a handful of successful adventurers rest upon the summit. All climbers, from base to near summit, look up in awe and admiration. dreaming of the moment they too will bask in the views of that mountaintop. Just like climbing a mountain, your mobile home park journey will cross through different phases. On this episode, we'll talk about your mobile home park journey through the lens of those mountain climbers, their mindsets, where plateaus could occur, and how you can break through. Just like those mountain climbers, phase 1 requires your prep for your climb. Unsurprisingly, this phase claims the overwhelming majority of the failures to get started in this mobile home park asset class. More people simply just never get started, never buy their first. And just like those mountain climbers, most folks never even begin to climb. That has been true since I started back in 2015, remains true to this day, and will likely always be the case. Believe it or not, by simply owning one mobile home park, yes, just one mobile home park, you immediately set yourself ahead of nearly everyone. If I have to put a number on it, say 95% of people, at a minimum, never begin to climb. But for you, if you can even buy just one mobile home park, you hoist yourself into an elite class of action takers. From there, however, the journey just begins. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's talk about going from 0 to 1. Chapter 1. Discovery and the honeymoon phase. Do you remember the first time you met your significant other? Or better, do you remember the first time you flirted with or went on your first date? None or only limited flaws expose themselves in these first few interactions. Mobile home parks do something similar. Who the heck wouldn't want something with limited or no work that spits out heavy cash flow, can make you rich, and get you out of your miserable full-time job? Well, like with dating, mobile home parks draws you in and convinces you, at least for a short period of time, to ignore, gloss over, or forgive inherent flaws. I remember reading a brief on mobile home parks back in July of 2015, after hours in Miami, Florida. I was a broke MBA student with dreams of owning his own company one day. I had already started and failed 3 other businesses over 3 years. I, like many others, fell in love with the idea of mobile home parks. I beat to death what happened in my former podcast, MHP IRL. So I won't go into detail here, but what I will say is that mobile home parks served in part as an escape for me. I didn't have what my heart desired. And so mobile home parks, or at least the dream of mobile home parks, filled this void in my heart. Fortunately, mobile home parks fit me perfectly. Sadly, for most, mobile home parks simply provide that needed pipe dream to get through another tough day. Because the love isn't actually there. But let's assume you, too, have a future in mobile home parks, and it does truly fill that void. Realistically, that honeymoon phase will prove to be exactly what you need. Right now, before your first mobile home park, you will likely face the most hardships and threats to end your mobile home park journey that you may ever face. Like the early parts of dating someone you love, hiding those flaws, or at least glossing over them, will help you get through those tougher, awkward phases while you fight to build a foundation of true love. You need to harness that enthusiasm to build that strong base. And hopefully, like with the significant other, you can develop that base of love in reality, and one that can truly serve as that foundation. Because the next subphase will, chapter 2, warm, safe clubhouse. Shortly after making those first steps towards buying your first mobile home park, you start to realize it is really hard to buy a mobile home park. Imagine this: the mountain climbers clubhouse chatter exhilarating you. This packed room of would-be mountain climbers pumps you up to your core. Folks have super nice gear, all the way down to folks with just the bare minimum gear. Judgments come easy. Oh, that guy'll never make it. Oh, that girl over there, she's going far. You've got the boaster, the negative Nancy, the person who's summited many other mountains before, and so on. This chatter fog, full of different personalities and perspectives, can really psych you out. The clubhouse, however, is merely just that. Just a room full of chatter. If you want to climb, truly want to climb, you must bid adieu to that warm, safe clubhouse. Sadly, you must say goodbye to that well-dressed boaster who tries to convince you and everyone who is willing to listen to him that he is the next biggest and best thing to hit mobile home parks. So throw on your coat, tie up your boots, and pick up that heavy backpack. You haven't left the clubhouse yet, and you begin to feel a bit uncomfortable. Leaving this mountain for just a minute, let's look at mobile home parks. Your early enthusiasm meets the cold, harsh realities of the business. Investors disappear come time to write the check. Deals seem overpriced and few and far between. Nothing appears reasonable driving distance to you. Your network lacks depth. Your truly limited skill set starts humbling you hard. You begin to realize how much money you need to do this thing all by yourself. Feelings flood your system. Will you ever find a deal? Will you convince investors to join you? How will you work your job while growing this portfolio? Who will you hire? And when? And how will you afford it? And eventually, the most devastating, do you even have what it takes? Then, what if it never happens? Did you just waste your time? Before I even start talking about the how, we must first zoom in on the psychological considerations. Like with that mountain climber example, this subphase involves leaving the comfortable, exciting, warm environment of that clubhouse and that what might be, and start facing that harsh reality of the journey ahead. The fear begins to set in here. Sure, everyone can talk about and think about buying mobile home parks or mountain climbing, especially that well-dressed boaster who we will now call the next big thing. But stop and look around. Look at who actually straps their boots on. Look at who actually starts walking towards that door. Now, feel that chill running up and down your spine as you too strap on your boots and start walking towards that door. And a bit of good news, I have met plenty of those next big thing types who never end up buying a single mobile home park. But don't laugh yet. You need to escape phase 1 yourself. Now, walk out that door. Enter the next subphase. Chapter 3, leaving the clubhouse. Congratulations! You've left the talkers behind. You walk through that door and the mountain air hits you right in the face. As we continue to walk closer to that mountain base, our gear, boots, supplies, etc. start growing more uncomfortable. We experience a roller coaster of emotions: fear, anxiety, doubt, but also excitement, curiosity, and hope. Unsurprisingly, most people who don't make it out of phase 1 don't even make it out of that clubhouse. However, the next largest group that meet their fate in phase 1 succumb in this next subphase. In fact, each subphase going forward will sport smaller and smaller groups, and more people will exit, but plenty of people will continue pushing forward. I've heard people describe success as a pyramid, with each level of successful people diminishing as each difficult hurdle and level of success is achieved. Because as you continue progressing forward and getting more and more successful, there are just less and less people who have it in them to pull it off. Whether at the clubhouse, putting on your gear, or hiking towards the mountain base, people exit as the uncomfortability settles in and grows stronger. This hike to the base serves as your first test. You hopefully start winning those inner game battles of self-doubt and fear. You may not realize, however, that these are only the first battles. Yep, those never go away. Let me give you a sneak peek from the top of the summit. We, too, constantly ask ourselves those self-doubting questions. Those don't go away. This subphase begins your never-ending journey of constantly overcoming your own psychology. Like in boxing, this is just round 1 of many, many rounds to come. While the last subphase displayed that cold, harsh reality, in this subphase you must actually address it and overcome it. You'll need to do things like find investors with similar visions that align with your journey. Develop an effective strategy that will result in mobile home parks acquired. Build a network of contractors, partners, attorneys, mentors, etc. Map out a plan for operations. That's just to name a few. Sound daunting? That will just be to get to the mountain base, not to mention even climbing it. I don't care where you zoom in on a mobile home park journey or mountain, the climber must be doing those things at basically every phase. If you seek growth, you will need more investors, brokers, strategies, contractors, etc. This hike to the mountain base serves as your first hoorah into building that foundation. You won't ever be done. This is just round 1. But once you've built all that out, then you are officially ready to begin to climb. Chapter 4. Staring up at the mountain. Brace, but be ready. Good news and bad news. You've reached the mountain base, but you can't quite climb yet. Nope. You need an entry point, i.e. a mobile home park to buy. While you just overcame your own psychology, the initial discomfort, and mentally braced for the long journey ahead, now you actually have to pull the trigger on a property. Unlike with the mountain, you won't truly hit the base in a predictable fashion. I personally needed about 14 months from start to finish, buying my first mobile home park and escaping phase 1. I've seen others escape phase 1 in under 6 months. I've seen others take years. At this point, all you can do is keep pushing forward. Be patient. Be ready to pounce. While most would-be mountain climbers are sitting back at that clubhouse, warm and comforted by those dreams of climbing, you have actually made your way through that treacherous hike to that mountain base. Yes, this will prove very frustrating, knowing how far behind the clubhouse sits, yet you technically haven't begun climbing yet. You might be far, far ahead of most of those non-MHP owners, yet you yourself remain a non-mobile home park owner. You aren't any different than those boasters in any measurable way. But unlike those knuckleheads, you actually sit in a real position, a great position to actually close on a property. And you must cling to just that. How do you quantify your hard work without closing on a mobile home park? You can't. Congratulations. You just completed a long, arduous hike. But you aren't a mountain climber. You can take pride in the fact that you are ready. Like trying to jump on a moving carousel, you must wait for that moment when you can safely hop on board. You can't just walk up to it and jump on. This takes a lot of prep work, which you have already completed by this point. Like they say, hurry up and wait. But more importantly, you can keep working hard, clouding out those negative thoughts with continued efforts to find that opportunity. And eventually that moment arrives. The fear will peak right before closing, but if you can muster up that courage again, you'll be rewarded with your first real mountain climb. At that point, you are a mountain climber. Unlike those boasters, you are the next big thing. Chapter 5, Starting the Climb, Plateau Busting Solutions. To sum up, Phase 1 requires strong inner game mixed with the right action steps. You drank in the exciting vibes of the clubhouse, but unlike most, you donned that climbing outfit, walked through that door, hiked to the mountain base, and began climbing when the opportunity struck. You overcame emotions like fear of missing out, jealousy, doubt, uncomfortability, misplaced excitement, disappointment, surprise, and the deflating thought that you've only just begun. We've covered many possible solutions in much more detail on other episodes, including on mobile home parks in real life, so I strongly recommend revisiting MHP IRL episodes like Endgame, the case for different mobile home parks, plateau busting strategies, lead generation secrets, and episodes like David vs. Goliath and From Timid to Tenacious on this podcast. While those episodes serve to deep dive into solutions, this episode hopefully paints a picture of what you'll ultimately experience at each step of the way. Hopefully now you have a little bit of a perspective, you have some insights as to what will come, as well as a little bit of relief, reflecting on what you've hurdled to this point. And you aren't alone. Your journey, while unique, also will look strikingly similar to most people's. Conclusion. The law of diminishing intent applies here, saying the longer you wait to do something you should do now, the greater the odds that you will never actually do it. Look, you need to get out of Phase 1 as fast as possible. Conversations just fundamentally change when you can say you own or have owned a mobile home park. Brokers, investors, bankers, etc. will just take you more seriously. There's no sugarcoating that. There's no way around that. Each passing moment you spend in this phase will compound on itself, making it harder with time to ever get started. I would argue that breaking even or even losing money on your first mobile home park is preferable to sitting in the clubhouse. When you own, you learn. Chalk up any losses to educational costs. I'm not saying go bankrupt. I'm just saying that you don't need to hit a home run on your first deal. You just don't. You need to get on base, or at least take a swing. Even if you strike out, you need to have an at-bat. Use whatever analogy you want. Mountain climbing, baseball, whatever. The point is that you can't linger in phase one. If you are serious about mobile home parks, you need to find a way into the game. Don't be picky. Don't die. But don't succumb to all the traps laid out from the clubhouse to the mountain base. Get aggressive. Force your way out. While you start facing challenges that you'll routinely battle throughout your entire journey, the reality will eventually set in that things are getting started. If you are lucky enough to call yourself a mobile home park owner, you aren't done. In fact, the next hardest phase to escape is phase 2, which claims the second most amount of mobile home park journeys. If you think standing at the mountain base, looking up at this impossibly tall mountain is scary, wait until you begin climbing. You look down and you realize you can't just jump off and go back to the clubhouse. And then you get stuck with no obvious path up. That is where the real fear begins to set in. So buckle up. We have a long climb ahead of us, but we're going to do this together. And it will all be worth it as you continue to fight through those plateaus.
Entrepreneurs make mistakes, but with the overwhelming amount of free information out there, you don't have to be doomed to make those same mistakes. You just have to find a consolidated version of the most important information. What if I told you that Ryan and I will gift you all of the due diligence mistakes that he and I have made over the years for free? What if I also told you that Ryan and I will hop on a 30-minute coaching call to walk through any questions you might have, give you advice, and even do a free live deal review to get you started on your first or next mobile home park acquisition? Just leave us a 5-star review, screenshot the review after it goes live, and click the link in the show notes to fill out the form and send it to us. Afterwards, join our Facebook group, Mobile Home Park Masterminds, where you'll find hundreds of other mobile home park owners sharing ideas, contractors, and deals. It's free to join, and we would absolutely love seeing you in there. Thanks for listening. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and we'll see you soon.